Hello there, Sips. This is Pantlump from the Twitch chat and Showed Warrior on Reddit. Watched your stream today and noticed you were having trouble getting into orbit, so I figured I would build something that would get you to orbit relatively easily, as long as you could fly it right. The parts we got on here, just got your command capsule, got two of these mystery goo containers because you want to have them balanced out on each side, otherwise your rocket is going to tend to flip. Got the little antenna right on top, got a parachute, and a reserve parachute since you seem to have one on there. But the main thing is these liquid fuel tanks. Liquid fuel tanks and liquid fuel engines you can throttle. These solid rocket boosters you cannot. Once you turn them on, they are on for good. So on the bottom stage here, the one that's going to fire first, we have this, actually when you build your rockets you want to start with the capsule and build your way down. So you want to start with what's coming back. So we have that, the heat shield, and the decoupler. Now I have three of the second smallest tanks here, which will be enough to get into orbit and to return from orbit. Below that, I'm not sure if you've unlocked the 45, the swivel engine, but that's probably going to be your best bet because it can use thrust vectoring to maneuver left and right a lot more easily than the other one. And then under that, we have 5 more of these tanks, 6 more of these tanks, and the fins down here. You don't want to have fins near the top of your ship because that is going to put a lot of drag on the top of your ship, which will tend to try to make it flip over. Alright, and under those we have the Reliant engine. It's got a bit more thrust, but you can't vector with it, so it does make it a little harder to control. You can replace it with the other one if you want. It just won't get as much thrust. Alright, then under that we got the BACC, the Thumper solid rocket booster, and that is on the same stage as these 4. Now these I've throttled down to about 66, actually about 65 should be good enough. That way they'll burn out right before this one does, they won't overheat too much, and then just some fins here for a little extra stability. Alright, and then once you've checked all of your staging, just save that, go to launch pad, let that load. Alright, and oh, that was new. Alright, so once you're ready to launch, turn stability on, and hit space for space. Now from here, if you can manage it, there's not a lot of torque in the capsule, but if you can manage to tilt over to the right just a little bit, it will help you get into orbit. And since you haven't unlocked solar panels or batteries yet, you might want to keep an eye on your electric charge. That's going to go down the entire time that an engine is not firing and that you have stability enabled. Now you'll still get atmospheric effects down here. You can't really steer too much with these. It's ideal to get your turn started a little earlier, but since we just have solid rocket boosters here, let them burn out. So those will burn out. We got the next engine to burn out. As soon as that one goes, you want to separate, hit the engine again, and start tilting to the right a bit. Now you want to go east because the planet is rotating eastward at a little over 150 meters per second. That makes it a lot easier to get into orbit because you already have the rotational speed of the planet. So once you can, oh actually I forgot to throttle up there. Z and X on the keyboard. Z will put you at full throttle, X will put you at no throttle. And then shift and controls go up and down. Alright, so once you start getting above about 20 kilometers, you want to be pitched over close to 45 degrees on the nav vault, which is right here. And that, since you've gone pretty much straight up out of the thickest part of the atmosphere, it's going to be the most efficient way to both gain altitude and orbital speed. Because what an orbit is you're basically moving so far, or so fast in one direction, that you're moving as fast as you're falling, so you never actually hit the planet again. And you want to get your apoapsis, which is your highest point in your orbit, above 70 kilometers. I usually aim between 80 and 100, so you want to get that up as high as possible. Well, not as high as possible. You want to get to about that height while also pitching over. And let's see. Try to push that. You want to keep that around a minute 30, a minute 45 away from you. But since you're playing on stream, just more having fun with it, don't worry too much about it. Just kind of want to keep that right on the 90 for this part of this. Now, once this stage burns out in a second or two, eject it. And now this engine, I'm not sure if you've unlocked this or not. I would suggest using it. It makes it a lot easier to adjust, like going left, right, forward, backwards, it helps a lot more than the capsule torque right now. All right, now you see this? Got about yeah, 100 kilometers, about a minute and a half to go. Once you get about 45 seconds from that, what you want to do, I don't know if you have maneuver nodes unlocked yet, but you can do that, pull it to the side. It'll show you what the maneuver you have to do is. About 15, oops, it's a little far. You want to get that about circular. So I'd say that's close enough. It's, whoops, get that down to about 100. There we go. And then you just kind of want to line up. But the highest point in your orbit, you want to be basically going straight horizontal there. So let's see, how much time do we got? About a minute or so. So at about 45 seconds, I'm going to go to full throttle. So we go back into this view, and it's M to toggle between the map, of course. And about 45 seconds out, hit, whoops, throttle all the way up, fire up the engine, and this will have enough delta V. Your delta V is how much you can change your velocity. It's basically how much fuel you have in comparison to your payload. Once you have that, you can use, what was it? I use Kerbal Engineer most of the time. This is just something I threw together real quick. That should be within the part limit, the part count limit, the height limit, and the weight limit of your launch pad. So once this is up, you can see that the orbit's now going more and more circular. It's a little off, but whatever, we're still in orbit. Periaps is your lowest point. That's over 70, so you're in space, and we're in orbit. It's a little bit eccentric, but that's a science word. Should be good enough, and then, just disable stability, do your science. I'm in, what's it called? Sandbox mode right now. So, let's see, we'll go back out here. We can time warp, go all the way around the planet. And to come home, all we have to do, you can land more or less anywhere you want on the planet. So I'm going to wait until I'm about over the desert before I do my burn to slow down. And to return from orbit, instead of pointing directly at the planet, what you want to do is line up on your nav ball when you steer. You want to have this point, which is the direction you're facing, directly on top of this, which is your retrograde vector, which is basically you're firing backwards to slow down and letting gravity do the rest. So you throttle up, pop over into map mode, you watch all of this go down, and try to aim for this to hit that little island there. You'll come close enough where you might actually be able to see the launch center, if not, whatever you've made it back from the planet. And since we don't need this fuel anymore, since we've packed a bit extra, we can let that go. And it's the comma and period to toggle time warp. So we'll warp ahead. And actually I'm going to turn off stability because all it's going to do right now is drain battery. And you should be aerodynamically stable enough to fall back on your own. Let's see. Get inside the atmosphere. That's fine. And now it goes to physics time warp, which only goes up to 4 times regular speed. Yeah, when you use bigger ships, you don't really want to use physical time warp as much because they tend to explode. So just don't show that again. Just warp through. Now that you're in the top part of the atmosphere, it's thin, but it should be enough to start balancing out your return capsule. Got the heat shield on, and generally you're coming back like shallower than coming straight down, so you won't really burn up, hopefully. And once you get the atmospheric heating, you'll see you got the ablator there. That's how much of the heat shield that you have left. Returning from like a low orbit isn't really that painful on it. It's more when you're coming straight in or coming in really, really fast that it'll start to be a problem for you. And now when you come back, when you deploy your parachutes, you want to make sure that they're not going to tear off. And when you go above 300 meters per second, that's around the speed of sound. You don't want to be going supersonic. So if you right click on it, it'll say safe to deploy, unsafe, and that's because you're still going really, really fast. The Space Center is somewhere over here. We're going to miss it. Yeah, we came back a little short, but whatever, we're still going to be on the ground. All right, and then you basically just want to wait until you're about between 1 and 5 kilometers up to deploy the chute, unless you're coming in over mountains. Then you want to really, really be careful with it. So we've slowed down enough. It's still like supposedly unsafe to open this. Let's see. Yeah, since you're under 300 meters per second, it's safe, but I'm just gonna let it fall down a bit more before opening it. Let's see, gonna speed this up a bit. There, we're at around 2 kilometers. I'm going to deploy the chute. Nice and slow, and I'm just going to time warp all the way back down to the ground. Hopefully with this you'll be able to make it to orbit on stream. I know that you've sent my dick there a few times today alone, and I guess good luck, don't explode, and have fun. And we're down. Thanks.